I had a patient, she came to see me. She looked me right in the eyes and she said, I can't go on like this any longer. She said, I'll be dead in 2 months if I don't do something now. You see, she was at the end of her rope. Her struggle with addiction, the loss of relationships, and the destruction of her soul was too much to handle anymore. And she made it to my office, so that's a start. She wasn't looking for a miracle, just a little hope, that light in the darkness. She just needed someone to tell her that she could make it through this. She needed to believe that she could be a mom again, that the disappointments and hurts could fade, that the lies told could be forgotten. Now, some of you may not know this, but I'm a family doctor. I treat normal things like diabetes, depression, and back pain, but I also treat alcohol and drug addiction. So hopefully your story won't be as extreme as the one we just discussed, but there's something we can all learn from people that have had to completely turn their life around for the better. The idea that you can't change is a lie. And the hardest lies to overcome are the ones we tell ourselves. So when life isn't turning out like you hoped it would, when your story has no chance for a happy ending, tell a different story. Here's how. Start small. We tend to overthink things, so just keep it simple. Concentrate on today's problems and make small adjustments because little victories add up. Every day get a little stronger, a little faster, eat a little better. These small daily changes will pay back exponentially with time. But you've got to keep a long view in your mind. In other words, you've got to think about what's your goals, what's your plan, like what's your overall plan. You know, a lot of people, they don't think 10 years down the road. Hell, they don't even think 10 days down the road. So start mapping out your life, kind of where you think you're going, where you want to go. I mean, you can be flexible with that. It's not like you're stuck in any one scenario. But you need some kind of vision. And I'd never tell people, look, just do whatever your heart tells you or whatever makes you happy. That's bad advice. What instead you need to do is whatever God's purpose is for you, what God's will is for your life. That's what you need to follow. That's what you need to concentrate on. And stick with the actions that you need to take today to make that long-term vision happen. The next thing you got to do is get out of your comfort zone. You need to practice changing daily routines. This will help you break out of a rut. You might say, I'm not a morning person, or I can't meditate, or I'm an introvert. But I say, says who? You know, those are just stories you've told yourself. Tell yourself a different story. Get up 30 minutes earlier, go for a walk, meditate, journal, take a cold shower, talk to a stranger. To be someone different, you need to do something different. Now, it doesn't mean that, you know, everyone needs to be extroverted or to do all these crazy things, okay? Maybe that those aren't your thing. But my point is, try something new. You know, get out of your comfort zone, push yourself a little bit. Life is painful, you know that. Do things that are uncomfortable, things that are difficult, because comfort is a cage. You'll start to see that you have more control over your life than you actually thought you did. Now, the next thing is you've got to stay focused. You can't get upset when things don't work out because there's going to be trial and error. So what? You're gonna fail. So what? People might think you're weird. So what? Do you know what inspires people? It's not Instagram models or drugged up bodybuilders. It's seeing normal people trying new things, being consistent and passionate. Next thing is you gotta find a friend. If you can't find one, buy one. Now that's just kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke. And what I mean is that everybody needs someone they can go to when they're struggling. Someone that won't judge them, a person that will keep you accountable. Maybe you're trying to lose weight, get fitter, gain some muscle, learn jujitsu or boxing or something. So maybe you need a coach or a trainer. And that's what I mean by buy one. You might have to pay somebody who's learned a certain skill if they can teach you to save you time and effort, right? Maybe you need a dietitian to plan a few meals for you. Maybe you can just talk to your friend and get them to come on the journey with you to keep you accountable, to start working out with you. But, if you're in the addiction circles, then you've probably got experience with AA. Maybe it didn't work for you. Maybe you're not a big fan of it or whatever, but you understand the need for a sponsor. But a lot of you guys out there aren't getting sponsors. In other words, you're not getting someone who's been in the muck and got themselves out, and that'll hold your feet to the fire to keep you accountable. There's no use reinventing the wheel. Learn from other people's mistakes and grow. Learn from your own mistakes. And it's not about getting advice from somebody. Sometimes it's just about having someone you can talk to, man, who won't judge you. And that kind of leads into building healthy relationships, okay? So when we start talking about friends and family and loved ones, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these relationships. Sometimes we bog ourselves down in relationships that take more than they give. And I'm not saying don't be caring or forgiving or loving, but invest time in people that actually love you, and people that you love, and people that want to see you do well and want to see you grow. This doesn't mean you're turning your back on the entire world or whatever, but man, we've only got so much life to live. We've only got so much time and resources. And no one's perfect. And maybe you've been burned before. I get it. But it's time to start building something new. Now, we're talking about breaking addiction here, guys. So this next one is going to seem maybe a little strange. There's this thing. It's really old. But they're called books. Try reading a book. Now, I'm talking about old-fashioned books with pages, paper. Those things they store at the library. This is going to help your attention deficit disorder, because I guarantee you've got a little ADD. You've become addicted probably to your phone, to checking Twitter, to checking Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. You can't just sit still. Try bringing a book with you wherever you go. And when you've got a moment and you don't want to just sit still with your thoughts, just try reading your book instead of going to your phone. Seriously, how would your life be different if you read a new book every week? Now, maybe you already read. And if you do, that's awesome. So maybe you need to read something different. Something that puts you, a little bit out of your comfort zone. Like if you always read romance novels, maybe you need to read like a short book of philosophy. I mean, sure, ease your way into this stuff. Don't just jump into, some huge 1,000-page, book that you don't understand half the words in. But ease yourself into something different. Maybe you always read about religion, so maybe you need like a good murder mystery. Or read a classic. Okay? Read if you love Lord of the Rings, actually go read the books. Read Tolkien. Read C.S. Lewis. Read the Chronicles of Narnia if you've never read those. Read some G.K. Chesterton. Read some Charles Dickens. Maybe even read some Ayn Rand, but be careful. Don't get too political. Read something that'll push your brain a little bit. Read some Stephen King. Read something that was written in a different language, but obviously read the translation if you can't speak that language. Whatever it is, just read something. And I'm not saying this has to replace all of the entertainment you get, all of your, your TV, Netflix or whatever. No, you still need to watch a little YouTube, right? Because you should be watching my videos on YouTube. I'm just kidding, of course, but try throwing in some different books. You'll be surprised at how changing up your routine, your daily monotonous self-indulgence in social media can refocus your life. and get you thinking about things that matter in ways that you've never really thought about it before. You'll start putting together ideas. And the last thing I want you to do is I want you to start writing down ideas. Write down ideas for your life. 5 ideas a day, 10 ideas a day. I actually got this idea from a guy named James Altucher, and he always says write 10 ideas a day down. I don't do it every day. I used to, though. I did it for a long time. And I was shocked at how creative I started getting at coming up with these ideas. Now, these ideas aren't necessarily ideas that you're going to do. So it could be like, sometimes I would write down, okay, I'm going to come up with 10 blog article titles. And I would just kind of try to come up with unique stuff, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily write any of them, but every now and then I would hit something and I would think, that's something I really want to look into. Then that would, lead me down a rabbit hole, which would inspire me to do something else. Sometimes I would write down 10 book ideas I might want to write. Now, seeing how I've only written 1 book, I obviously didn't write any of those books. But it's still, it inspired me. It pushed me into deeper levels. Sometimes at my clinic, I'll write down 10 things, 10 ways to improve the clinic, or 10 ways to improve, the check-in process at my clinic. So, got real micro-specific. 10 ways to increase marketing to the clinic, or 10 ways to make, my nurse's job easier, 10 ways to make my patients feel more comfortable when we're discussing, difficult situations. Now, it doesn't mean you do all these things, right? But it just gets you thinking about these things. And there's something about doing it every day. And again, I don't do it every day anymore. But if I get in a rut, I just start channeling through those ideas. And it takes a while. So, after you've done it for a couple weeks, though, it seems to really start. And when you're consistent, I would just get a notebook, I would write them down. When you're consistently churning out those ideas, at about 2 weeks in, man, it just starts, those neurons in your brain just start firing away in different ways. It's amazing. And so you don't need drugs to be creative. You don't need drugs to drown out your life. You break addiction by creating a life that you don't want to escape from. And the most ultimate way is to have a purpose in your life. And I believe God gives us all a purpose. And that purpose isn't necessarily some grand design, like you're gonna, save the world in some way. Your purpose might be that you're gonna be an amazing wife and mother. Your purpose might be that you're gonna be the teacher that helps a 13-year-old get through a difficult situation. And that 13-year-old is going to go on to be an 18-year-old that actually graduates high school and go to college or trade school or do something amazing with their life and get out of the rut that their life has become. You see? Your purpose might be that you're just going to inspire somebody that you never really get to meet or never really get to know. But you're going to make a difference in their life. And it's not like we all just have this one purpose. No, our lives are multitude. Our lives are infinite potential. But what I'm saying is, if you close your mind off to this fact that your life has meaning and you have a purpose, then you're going to miss out. So, if you get nothing else from anything else I've said, remember this: reject apathy and fight nihilism.